my name is Danielle Beach, and today I'm going to give you a quick overview of how immigration has changed with the LGBTQ community. President Obama's recent executive action on immigration tries to keep immigrant families together, but many people worry that LGBTQ immigrants are still being left out. According to the Williams Institute, there's approximately 267,000 LGBT immigrants in the United States, and these families are not protected by executive action. The executive action ignores state-level bans on same-sex marriages and adoptions that continue to affect LGBTQ non-citizens. Many LGBTQ immigrants came to the U.S. at a later date than other immigrants, which may mean that they're not even qualified for DACA protection because of the raised age limit. And a higher proportion of LGBT immigrants came to the U.S. without any family ties, especially if they were coming due to persecution. So they're more likely to have family. And if they have family here in the U.S., often they're rejected when they find out about their sexual orientation. So the leading case in this is United States v. Windsor. And this is a 2013 Supreme Court case which was concerning estate taxes. And the issue came about because they were same-sex and the survivable spouse was incurring a much higher tax liability on her late wife's estate. So she brought a court case claiming that DOMA was unconstitutional. And again, Windsor decision did overturn DOMA, meaning that same-sex marriages were now legally recognized under federal law for purposes of all federal statutes. So what happens after U.S. v. Windsor? Secretary Janet Napolitano and President Obama directed the immigration agencies to treat same-sex binational married couples the same as opposite-sex married couples for the purposes of immigration benefits. USCIS said in their policies that they were committed to reopening any cases that had been rejected solely because of DOMA. USCIS also, however, as a caveat, said that it will look to the law of the jurisdiction where the marriage occurred to determine if it's a valid marriage under the law. What's the problem with this? Well, 37 states and 18 countries recognize same-sex marriages, others do not. For purposes of this brief presentation, I want to focus on basically 6 areas where LGBT immigrants are eligible. Firstly, DACA, which they may be eligible or may not be eligible for. DAPA, which is not currently the law under the November 20th, 2014 Executive Action for Immigrants. Asylum, which goes to the homosexual or lesbian group under Asylum of Social Group. B2s, which means visitors who are allowed to come in. U visas, people who have been victims of a crime. VAWA, victims who are against violence against women, which also includes men, of course. The executive actions focuses and prioritizes that the government has limited resources and therefore it can't deport every undocumented person in the U.S. So they focus on aliens with recent convictions, people who have already been deported and haven't left, and national security threats. So what is the effect of this? It means that requiring family ties discriminates against LGBT families because many of these LGBT adults in the U.S. won't qualify. However, there are still some other benefits that I mentioned, such as deferred action for childhood arrivals, commonly called DACA, because now, if the executive action were to pass, which, as you know, the injunction was held until the court case occurs in Texas, but it would eliminate the age ceiling for qualifying, and it would mean that people who came here before January 1st, 2010 would be eligible. So LGBTQ children are eligible for DACA, and about 10% of DACA recipients, which is interesting, currently identify as LGBTQ. There is an estimated about 30,000 additional LGBT youth who may qualify under the expanded DACA protections. DAPA is currently not the law, but again, this would affect people who have U.S. citizen children or permanent resident children who therefore would be eligible under DAPA because of their relationship to the qualifying child. DAPA benefits the parents of these children. The purpose was to stop separating parents and children. and leaving the children basically homeless or often under guardianships. The problem again is the fact that if it's a state that doesn't recognize this could be not accepted, and also the fact that DAPA has not passed yet. Another legal option is the provision for unlawful presence. So presently, only spouses and children of U.S. citizens can apply for a provisional waiver of unlawful presence. But if the person is LGBTQ, they could qualify as a spouse. Many LGBT families, unfortunately, live in countries without marriage equality, and this remains a serious problem for them. Under DOMA, same-sex couples were unable to get any immigration benefits that were previously available to different sex couples. So this is a huge difference since 2013. Some undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens can't file for a green card, such as if they entered iwi without first returning to their home country, they file a 601A waiver. Sometimes this can take a long time. It's particularly serious for countries, which is about 80 countries, which currently criminalize LGBT recognition of same-sex marriages or couples. Same-sex couples can also use the Fianc Visa in the same way as they can use the relative petition visa. So that is another category yet again, which is a seventh category in which they're going to be eligible. The K visa will allow a foreign citizen who's engaged to a U.S. citizen to come to the U.S. to marry their U.S. citizen sponsor, which they must do within 90 days. And once married in a state recognizing that same-sex marriage, the couple then can live anywhere in the United States. U visas are eligible to victims of crime who will cooperate with the police in investigating a criminal activity. Often LGBT immigrants, as you know, are victims of crimes and report it to the police, and they can now qualify for a U visa. VAWA can self-petition. This is the Violence Against Women Act, which includes men. It allows non-citizens whose U.S. citizen sponsor is abusive to petition for immigrant benefits independently. This reflects the reality that an abusive partner in the past used their position to control and prevent the other person from having immigration status, whereas the abolition of DOMA now extends this benefit to LGBT relationships. There's also derivative benefits which you may want to consider in this whole issue, because often there are children involved. These kind of benefits will prevent same-sex binational couples from facing painful years of separation. Those are some of the benefits that now extend the DACA, in the future possibly the DAPA, the U visas, the VAWA, the asylum under social group, spouses, and fiancé visas. If you have any questions about being in a state which doesn't give this benefit, or if you're not sure which benefits or what kind of documentation is needed, you need to speak to an immigration attorney who is experienced in this area, who can help you to work through often a very laborious and difficult process, not only in the area of the law, but also psychologically it can be tolling on people. Thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you more if you're interested in this area.